Hello viewers, I decided today that I want to start a series I've been thinking about, a tutorial series that mostly focuses around Clip Studio Paint and easing from a traditional artist into a digital artist. And so right now I have version 1.5.4. As you can see, it probably looks different than if you just opened it. I moved a lot of the toolbars and whatever to the side because I'm right-handed, and I'm sorry if it's cut off. I just noticed that earlier, but just pretend that you can see the top of the screen where they have the options and whatever. So, first thing you can do is look at preferences, and this, yeah, you can just look through this, and they're kind of self-explanatory. I'll just say a few things that are kind of important. Oh, well, this is for if you want to change how it looks. So this is a light color. I have a dark color, and then you can change the density too. So it can be really dense, or it could be lighter. I like to keep it around somewhere there. Performance, you can, if it's getting like choppy or whatever for you, you can allocate a higher percentage performance in hopes that it'll work better, but that also means that you can't have too many things and applications in the background. I also increased my undo count to 50 because I think before it was like 20, and this is useful if you're someone who makes a lot of mistakes sometimes and then you want to go back to it, then you probably wouldn't want to change this higher before you make anything, I guess, because yeah, so then you could just undo to the part where everything is what you'd like it to be. And cursor, there's different types of cursors that you can use. And so then there's brush size and cross, which brush size is just a circle, and then there's a little cross in the center, and then there's one with a dot and one with a single pixel dot. And then I just use a brush size and cross for most of them, except for the fill type I use triangle, so you know which arrow you're pointing at. And yeah. You can also this is really important. See, it has display positioned of reverse cursor, and they always automatically put it delay for stabilization, but I find that when you draw like that, it makes it feel kind of like that your canvas or whatever is slow or it's lagging. I mean, you can keep it if you want, but I just turned off because it felt unnatural to me. I kept feeling like something was going wrong, so I just put on no delay. So there's other things you can look at. There's a lot of things that's specifically for comic making because Clip Studio Paint tries to make a lot of options for if trying to make easy comics and whatever, or making comics easier in a digital format. Yeah, the step is basically how much you want to rotate every time you click rotate right or rotate left. And then I don't really have resolution set because um I just I don't really mess with that. And I just change it to high quality because sometimes it doesn't look exactly nice unless for I guess when you're working on the thing. I mean, it'll show high quality later after you export it, but it's nicer. I feel like it's nicer and more accurate when you keep it like that. So yeah, this is for importing stuff. You don't really have to think about this unless you have you work with comic things, and even then, you don't really even have to do this kind of stuff. It's just extra. Color profiles is basically you have RGB and CMYK, and they're basically different color wheel stuff for mixing, and everything. Most things digital use RGB profile, and there's actually more colors, but a lot of printing things still use CMYK. So if you want to print some of your stuff, you might want to just start using with the CMYK profile, or you can actually convert from RGB to CMYK, but it's gonna look less dull. It's gonna look a little bit more dull and not have the exact color precision. So, yeah. And you can mess around with this too for when you convert the colors, because sometimes it'll look a little bit differently depending on which rendering thing you put. This is for editing text, again with comic things, and you can actually change what you want. So that would be the automatic thing. So I might be like, oh, Comic Sans, and then you can also change how big it is. So yeah. Also, another thing is putting in shortcuts. I think is really important, and so you can there's a lot of things that you can put shortcuts for, but I only talk about a few that I use because, to be honest, I don't use that many shortcuts. Though some people like to use a whole bunch of tools or whatever. But by the way, if your tablet has extra buttons, you should be able to like keybind them and like change it so that one of the buttons on your tablet will uh, equal something on your keyboard. So, for example, one of my buttons for my tablet is Control Z. So when I'm inking and I mess up or whatever, I don't have to put my hand on my keyboard and do Control Z. I can just click the button. But yeah, you should be able to do that in your tablet preferences for when you're looking at your system devices. Yeah. Another important thing is for um, setting something for color picker. Generally, it's already set to the right click on your stylus, which is for Wacom stuff. I don't know about the sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, but other off-brand things, it's generally just located at the side of the pen. Like one side is for just the left click, and the other side's for right click. Right click generally means the color picker. So yeah, you can also set things for like your tools if you have different brushes to key bindings, and then you can have that as a shortcut so you can switch between colors and inking pens and whatever. So yeah, a lot of these other things I don't really look at, but last thing I want to look at just in this Clip Studio Paint options is, where is it? Command bar tab. Is pen pressure settings. Oh, sorry. So you're gonna have to open something new, and when you notice that when you have a new thing, it'll show you this, and this is just for setting size. Just know that the farther down you go down the alphabet, and the smaller the number is, the bigger the size is. So A4 is bigger than A6, and B6 is bigger than A4. And you can change the units here, and just note that whatever unit you start with is going to be the unit that they use for the rest of the document when you're changing things. I usually work with pixels, but yeah, paper color is so basically all documents or all clip files start with the paper color, and I just have mine at white, but you can change it to different. And what the paper color layer is, also these are different things. Most of them is for comics. I only really pay attention to the first one, which is illustration, and then maybe the animation one. And they also have templates that you can use for creating comics. If you check this template box, but let me create this. See, the paper layer, you can't draw on it, but all you can really do is change the layer color of it. Yeah. So, if you're ever interested in doing anything like with transparent background, you want to click this little eyeball and hide it, and then anything that shows, for example, sorry, there we go. It's like I want a transparent smiley face. Well, anything that has the black and white tiling in the back is transparent. So, and you have to also export it as a PNG extension because that's the only one that supports, or that's the thing that supports. That's a format that supports transparent backgrounds. So yeah. So there's in the file thing you can have something which is like create new from clipboard. So basically, it doesn't have to be in Clip Studio Paint. In fact, I can go and I could choose, well, let's say I had a picture and I just copied the picture. You can actually do edit. Um, well, this example is going to use something already in here, but I'm pretty sure it works for like pictures that aren't already in here. So see, I selected just this eyeball, and I can do file. Oh wait, I have to get Control C first. So file, create new from clipboard, and then there is it opened it as a new file, whatever I just selected. So yeah, that's one thing. So yeah, I have the full version, so you might not see this export multiple pages. I haven't really used it, but yeah. So these are all the different formats I can. I only really know about the JPEG, PNG, and maybe a little bit of the BMP, and there's also Photoshop. But so PNG, it supports transparent backgrounds, but it doesn't actually really take into effect DPI, I'm pretty sure. But it's very good for if you're posting something online. It's a great format. JPEG is just the other format. If you have anything that you want to like project on a screen, it's probably better that you use JPEG. And they have different like situations where one would be better than the other. And then BMP, I'm pretty sure is used for textures, like for brushes or whatever. At least that's what it was for Psy. Yeah. So export animation, you can export stuff too. It's mostly just like, I think exports as a .mov, but you can also do GIF, and or you export like each thing as a picture, and then you can put it into another program maybe. Also import stuff, and so one thing you can do is like import pattern from image, and so this is a screenshot, or well, let's see. Let's say I open this. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's since it's only over this specific part, like, but it basically just makes it. It'll take the image and tile it for you, so that it makes like you can make a texture or whatever out of it. Yeah. Anything that has this like border thing, where it's like with green dots and then like there's blue, is considered like an object. Oh, also this cross is like the pivot point, but it's kind of considered an object, and so you see this button called operation. This is all for dealing with objects and whatever. Um, it's not really that important. I mean, they also have this layer selection thing, so if I have, I'm gonna delete this. Um, delete. So layer selection works in the sense that you can go like, oh, I have so many layers, I don't know which one has this color in it, and you can just do that, and it'll take you to the layer, which, well, it'll highlight all the layers that you put in there, and you see the little check marks, and you can do other stuff with it. This moves, yeah, well, this moves layers, so like if these were unchecked, it would only move this layer, but you can check it so that it affects all of them. I'll get into more of these tool sets later. Let me go through this. Also do another video on animation itself, which is, it's simultaneous, very easy, but also like to get to understand, but also a little bit tedious and confusing in certain issues. For layers, there's a lot of things you can do with layers, and I'll also talk about that later. But if you see this new raster layer, basically raster is just what you're pretty much used to working with, where everything is with pixels. The other thing that you could that you can work with is, see, there's this page with just a folded corner, and then there's this other page icon, and it says new vector layer. And so vectors work, I like how they work in Clip Studio Paint because they work almost the same as with a raster layer. And so I could just do this or whatever, and like there's an eyeball. But it has this added benefit that I really like where it has a vector eraser. And so this part, the first one just means it'll only erase that part. Yeah, but I will say whenever you work with vector erasing, it can get a little weird. Like you'll see these weird auto correction stuff, and that's because vectors use they use formulas to decide where what's like black and what's, you know, the colors and everything instead of pixels. And this is helpful in the sense that basically it's convertible to like almost any resolution since it's the mathematical formula. It's not using things actual pixel on pixel, so you will not see a decrease in quality in that sense. And then yeah, there's the other type of eraser is like this, and it basically will erase towards the intersection. Yeah, using its mathematical formula. And lastly, you have this one, and it just erases the whole line. And I'm not like going like scribbling over. I'm just literally just tapping it. So, yeah. Uh, Selection is, I like to use selection a lot. It's as a benefit of using digital art. And if you see the select color gamut, which I didn't even really use until recently either myself, was that if I have all these different colors, and then yeah, and I decided I think this one color is way too pink and not good, and I just don't like it. You can go to select color gamut, and it has these color pickers, and you can click this. Oh, area of margin is like the higher area of margin, the more accepting of color types it'll be. So like if I had it at 100, it'd probably select anything with color. But yeah, so this area of margin will only select the pink, and you can reset it and select. Oh, I meant this one. Also, you can do the subtract, and then like if I do select this and select that, I could subtract this color if I wanted to. And so yeah, this is pretty useful if you're using flats. I will say that once you use a whole bunch of different colors and shades, selection digitally especially gets a little bit complicated, and it doesn't look as good. So, but yeah, that's something you can still do. Um, so selection, and then masking is basically like clipping. So like I'll just go over what clipping is real quickly. So if I go like this and I want to draw only over here, over this, I can click a new tab, and then I click this clip at layer below, and now anything I draw on this layer will only go over the blue. See, if I unclip it, it goes out, but if I clip it again, it does this. They also have this thing where it's a lock, and then the other part has a transparent thing. This locks transparency, and it kind of works like a clipping layer, except you don't make a new layer at all. It just affects only what's locked. So yeah. Yeah. Also, another thing about Clip Studio Paint is that's different than Sai of any of your Sai users is I'll show you if I erase, it's locked at the moment too. If I erase this, it that doesn't seem, it's not what I wanted to demonstrate. Oh, I have it set on color picker. Basically for eyedropper, there's color picker, which will take colors that you see overall. Like if this was just one, if this whole thing was just one layer, so I can click here and I'll take that color, and this one, I'll take the paper color, and then there's pick up color from layer, and so then it'll only register this pink, this pinkish, orangish red, and if I go out of it, it'll say it's transparent. So if I erase this, and the layer is currently locked, in Paint Tool SI it would have turned anything I erased into white, but here it automatically does in transparency. If you want it to turn to white when you erase things and the pixels are locked, you can actually change that in preferences, but I don't really understand why exactly you would do that, but since I always thought it was annoying inside, but whatever. Here are some other things that you can show. Yeah, I have these, like, if you see this, it's like kind of like guidelines, and you can actually pull this down and make a guideline. And so the guides look like anything that has a ruler or a special guide will have this type of thing, and it shows up as like this purpley line, which you can also change the color of, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's pretty delete. Yeah. Um, Here's a whole bunch of different filters that you can use. Which you can mess around with yourself. I don't want this video to be too long. If you have any questions, you can ask down below. But I wouldn't worry about workspace. Workspace is kind of like when you make a new thing, they show you those different options that you can choose from like illustration, animation, comic. See, they already have here. And I thought it would actually like register like where you put your tools and whatever. Like, because everything is basically like movable, and I could put it on this side if I want, which I won't because I'm already used to it being over here. But it doesn't really do that either, so I just use one type of workspace, but you can work with that too. And so yeah, anything that is hidden you can probably show with this. You can go to the window and and bring it over there, and yeah. So this one's color history. You can put a whole bunch of things like show approximate color or show or hide it or whatever. Um, you can move all of these, which is nice and not nice at the same time. It's nice because it gives a lot more flexibility, but like I'm already set with this format, and sometimes I'll accidentally drag this and it'll just like get stuck somewhere, because you can like even put it inside there, and then I don't know where I put it, so you might want to be careful of that. I also talk about the navigator. You can click and drag this around. You can also hold space and click and move around. You have this, and it's for flipping, and this is also for flipping. Anything that has this weird like circly thing is basically a reset. So if I was like, oh, I want to reset it back, because this is for tilting, it'll reset back here. And you can see that there's also one here, and that's for resetting the tool back to its original settings. I'm going to zoom in, zoom out. They also have it in the little corner here too. Over here, you can zoom in, zoom out. You can tilt it around. This is for showing things. Well, I don't actually know the difference between this and this. I think this one works when you're using multiple files, but I'm not exactly sure. Fit to screen, fit to navigator. Oh, well, then it probably means that if I make this small and I go like this, it'll fit to whatever this is. But if I do, well, they're kind of similar anyways. And so this black box, this black one with the light box inside, is for the showing it at 100, which is what is the actual size, I guess, of it. The subview is just basically if you have anything that you want to use for reference. Like, this is from Goatlings. I was going to do a piece of art, but I haven't really done it in a while. And you could just click this, open, put anything in there, and use that as reference. Item bank, just, I haven't really used that. And then this one shows data about system and the item. Oh, you also have these things called like layer properties where you can add the effects. In Paint Tool side, they only really give stuff for fringe, and they did give an interesting thing for texture, which I'll talk about in another video of how they apply textures in Clip Studio Paint. But so here we have edge color, and if I click, you can always just fill this with a different color. And I click edge color red, you can't really see it, but if I increase the thickness of the edges, it'll make red edges around that layer. They also have this other type of border effect, which is supposed to mimic that of watercolor. So it's like a fringe effect, except you have a little more, you can change the settings of the fringe more. We also have extract line, which will take the line, that very outside. And they have this, which is for tones. Let me turn this border off. And right now it looks gray, but if you turn the tone lines down, you'll see it's actually a texture of polka dots. So it generally, whenever you do something like this, it'll generally go black and white. So, but it's useful for stuff in comics. This will make it turn this light blue color, and then you also see this thing on the layer, which is basically, it's just like a rough draft layer. So you don't have to, because like sometimes instead of going over lower opacity of black, it's easier when it's a different color. Yeah. Also for these layers, you can do this thing where you do that. You can't see it sometimes when it's like this because it's hidden, which kind of sucks. But if you pull it out a little more on your screen, you'll see this, and you can actually label the layers with colors. You can also do this with tools. If you go here and right click on the name, and you can do settings of subtool to change the name, and you can change the background color of the icon, which helps me differentiate between different fills, whatever. So I think that's enough for this video today, but I will be continuing this, and I hope you enjoy watching, or at least I've given you some helpful information.